So I had something interesting happen, and I wanted to share it, and it involves nostalgia and how it's dangerous, scary, but really pleasant. Oh my god, nostalgia is a hell of a drug, pretty much. And I don't think a lot of people realize this, and I don't really think it's the best thing for certain people. So, yesterday I was enjoying my breakfast and coffee, and I was, you know, it was a good morning. I'm watching an old anime that came out in 2004, and for me, the year 2004 was a great year for me. I was a little kid, life was great, I had nothing to complain about. This anime was very nostalgic for me. You know, the animations it looked amazing to me. It reminded me of good times. My coffee was just, it was just perfect. It was a blissful moment. And I'm sitting there drinking my coffee, watching this anime, and this anime has it has a certain soundtrack that I used to listen to 3 years ago, and it was a time in my life where I don't know, everything just felt so great to me, and it was amazing. And just thinking back on all these good times, it got into my body, and I had a moment of just, I wanted to like run away from my current life and just go back to those times. And then I started crying, and it was, oh my god, there was like so much happening at once, and I like lost myself for like a few minutes, because I'm thinking about the year 2004 when I'm like 7 years old, playing with all my friends, playing video games on the PS2. But then also this soundtrack from the anime I'm watching reminded me of 2021, where like I had no responsibility. Well, everything was just going perfect in my life. I could pretty much do whatever I wanted to. And then I zoned out. It felt like how when people use heroin, because heroin kind of puts you in that like catatonic state where you're just so high and relaxed, and I felt like that. And I know that is not a good thing to do, because, you know, realistically, nostalgia, when we think about all those things back in the day, we're thinking about a past that truly never existed. Oh my god. And just like thinking about it now, it just freaks me the fuck out, because it felt so good for that moment, and I wanted to run away from my present life, because, you know, life isn't great right now, but like, oh my god, I just wanted to go back and just but, you know, and what I just said a moment ago, that, you know, nostalgia is a way for us to, you know, run back to the past, which is a good thing to think about, like, you know, all the fun memories with our friends growing up, you know, riding bikes, spending the night at a friend's house, staying up all night, you know, making prank calls or doing whatever. That's great, but like, you know, a lot of the times we try to run away from our present life and think about a past that, you know, truly never existed. And I say that there's two ways to look at this. You know, the one way is where like we can think about like life when we were like 7 or 10 years old, like, oh my god, life was so great, I was just playing video games all the time, eating Funyuns and drinking Pepsi, and, you know, life was great. Like, there's nothing to complain about when you think about it right now. There's literally, like, in our own heads, the past was great. Going to Blockbuster, doing all this stuff, it was perfect. But then I had a moment where one day my brother was like, hey man, do you remember like back when we were like teenagers, like doing this, like like in this moment, like where we used to do this and we used to go here, like that was so great, right? And I'm like, no, that was awful. It was not a good time in our life. It was like in my head I'm thinking like, is this guy fucking crazy? That was not great at all. Like every day for us back then was horrible. Living conditions sucked. Barely any food in the house. It was awful. Like no, but in his head it was great. I mean, and that's like the interesting thing, how like we all have like a different perspective on life where it was great. And to backtrack to when I was like, oh, when I was 7 years old, and like it was like 2004, I'm 7, I'm just playing PS2, going to Blockbuster, eating chips and drinking soda, life was great. Yeah, I mean, realistically for me it was great, but then like I think about, you know, the outside circumstances with like my mom, like it was not great for her. She was a young mom dealing with a little kid, and I had no parental guidance. I'm 7 years old, just getting on my bike every day, just leaving the neighborhood, doing whatever I wanted, stealing from Circle K, hanging out with these older kids who were doing drugs. Not that I was doing drugs, but like that's not a good environment. And so, you know, I had this young mom who doesn't know what her kid is doing. She's struggling to make ends meet. So, and there's like hurricanes going around in Florida. So like realistically, that great past I'm thinking about was not the greatest ever. And it's just so interesting how nostalgia, it can be different for so many people, but it's dangerous because I've done this on multiple occasions where I could just sit here right now and just think about my, like 2021 was my best year of my life, I think. I had all this money saved up, invested. I didn't have to work because I had all this money saved up and invested. I had a girlfriend. I was in the greatest shape ever. And thinking about that compared to now, like they're like day and night. Like back then was so great. And when I sit here and I think about like, oh my God, like I want to go back to when I had all that money invested. It was so great. And and if I keep thinking about that, and I keep thinking about the negatives of today, I will just you'll get depressed. I will get depressed. I will get lost in the sauce. I know for a fact that I will sink into a deep depression, and then I won't be able to live in this present moment, and I won't be able to progress. And so that's why, like, I'm saying nostalgia is a drug, because you can get so high on it like it's heroin, and then you'll just keep thinking about it, and then you won't want to you won't want to leave that past. You're basically just escaping reality with nostalgia, and then you'll just lose focus of what you want to do in life, because then you'll just be stuck thinking about all those great moments back in the day, and then you'll want to relive those moments, but then you won't want to you won't want to create new moments, because those moments were so freaking good for you back then that you feel like nothing can ever compare, nothing can ever beat that. But that's not true, because something is always coming your way that can be better than the last thing. And a lot of people are, it's not that they're scared to admit that, it's just they don't want to, because that nostalgic feeling it feels so good, but it's not good. And if we can I feel like this is just like an alert video. Like I just really want people to just understand that it's good to think about those old days, and like, oh man, like going to Blockbuster was so great. And you remember when we used to, you know, ride bikes all day long? Like that was great. But like, create new memories and don't get stuck in the past, because it's really going to affect your day-to-day life now, your future, because then you won't know how to progress. You won't want to progress. And that's a scary, scary thing. Because I know for a fact that I could easily just fall into that nostalgia trap, and it'll take me a while to get out of it. And that's not a good thing for anybody. So, nostalgia is a hell of a drug, and not many people realize that. And I think we need to be more aware of that. Yeah. Something I've been thinking about for a while that nobody ever talks about, but I want to talk about it, so please be safe.